Hi everyone, and welcome back to my kitchen. For today's dessert recipe, I'm adding my own modern twist on a classic recipe, and I'll be making a bourbon maple pumpkin pie. This recipe takes pumpkin pie to a whole new level. It is so incredibly delicious, and you guys are gonna love all the flavors. We're going to be combining a classic pumpkin pie filling with lots of spices, a little bit of bourbon, and some maple syrup. It is so incredibly delicious and packed with so much flavor, and we'll be using my all butter pie crust recipe. I have a separate video for that I'll include down in the video description box below. Meanwhile, let's get started and I'll show you how to make this delicious fall dessert. I'm preheating my oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit, and I've already pre-made my pie crust. I absolutely love this recipe. I'm going to be using 2/3 of the pie dough for the actual pie crust, and then I have another little portion here, the last third that's left over. You can use this portion, just roll it out, make some little leaves to garnish the top of the pie. We're gonna roll this crust out, get it into the pie pan, and then get it pre-baking while we make the pumpkin filling. First, I'm going to lightly flour my work surface so the dough doesn't stick. I'm gonna grab my rolling pin and do the same. And I'm going to roll the dough out so it's a few inches larger than my pie pan, which is 9 inches. And I'm going to gently transfer the pie dough into my pie dish. And if it tears a little bit, that's totally fine. We're gonna fix that. And you wanna use your hands to very gently press the pie dough into the pie pan. Just go around the edges, make sure that you don't have any gaps or ear pockets. I rolled out the rest of my dough, and I'm going to grab a little paring knife and I'm going to cut little leaves out that I'm going to place along the rim of the pie for a little decoration. And this leaf garnish turned out so pretty, well worth the 15 minutes it takes to do. Next, I'm going to brush the dough with a little bit of egg wash. For this, I just beat 1 egg with a couple tablespoons of water. I'm gonna take my pastry brush and brush it on, and this way the dough is just gonna have this beautiful golden finish once it's done baking. And I'm going to blind bake the crust before I add the filling on the inside. I'm going to gently line the inside with some parchment paper. And then add the pie weights in. And I'm going to blind bake this crust at 425 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 minutes while I'm making that maple bourbon pumpkin filling. And for my pie filling, I'm going to start out with the pumpkin puree. So I have 15 ounces of pure pumpkin puree. I'm going to drop this into my mixer bowl. This filling is going to be so good, guys. You're gonna love it. Into the pumpkin, I'm going to add in 3/4 cups of evaporated milk, 1/4 cup of real maple syrup, 2 large eggs, 3/4 cups of white granulated sugar, 2 tablespoons or 1 ounce of bourbon, 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of ground cloves, 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger, 1/2 teaspoon of ground cardamom, and 1/2 teaspoon of allspice. And I'm going to grate in about 1/2 teaspoon of fresh nutmeg, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and my last ingredient, 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. I'm going to grab my whisk and mix this all together for a few minutes until the eggs are well beaten and I have a really nice and uniform mixture. All right, my crust is done blind baking. I'm going to gently lift this parchment paper out. Just gonna place them into a little strainer. These are gonna cool down faster that way. And I'm gonna pour this filling into here. Pour that pumpkin filling right in. And this is ready for the oven. I've reduced my oven temperature down to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and this pumpkin pie is going to bake for about 50 to 60 minutes. When it's done, the center will have just the slightest wobble, and then as the pie is baking, that filling is going to puff up a little bit, and it's going to smell so incredible. About halfway through the baking process, I'm going to place some foil around the edges. You can also use a pie crust protector just to make sure that the edges don't get burnt. And we'll come back, I'll show you what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. And I just took my pumpkin pie out of the oven. I'm going to remove the foil that I added around the edges. And how amazing does that look? This filling is still slowly bubbling away. So the filling will puff up a little bit as it bakes, and then as it cools, it's gonna settle back down. So now I'm just going to let this cool at room temperature for a couple hours, and then we'll come back to make our whipped cream. My pie is just about done chilling and setting, and now I'm going to make it my whipped cream topping. So into my mixing bowl, I'm going to add in 1 cup of chilled heavy cream. And you want this to be really nice and cold so it whisks up nicely. Add in 1/2 cup of confectioner's sugar. And now for my secret little ingredient, 1/2 teaspoon of maple syrup extract. Now I'm going to leave this product up on my website with a link to where you could get it on Amazon, but this stuff is golden for fall recipes. It adds so much incredible flavor. Grab my whisk and whisk this for a few minutes until I get stiff peaks. I let my pumpkin pie cool at room temperature for about 1 hour, and then I placed it into the refrigerator for a few more hours so it's really nicely chilled and set. I'm going to add dollops of this whipped cream right on top. This is going to make it look so pretty. And I like to sprinkle the whipped cream with a little bit of cinnamon. Just makes it look extra festive. And this pie is ready to be enjoyed. So take a sharp knife and make sure you're cutting all the way through the crust. And check out this pumpkin pie. It looks so fantastic. I can't wait to dig in and enjoy this. And that is it, guys, my bourbon maple pumpkin pie. I absolutely love how it turned out, especially the garnishes on the edges, the little leaves, they just make this pie extra special. For the full recipe, don't forget to head on down in the video description box. I have a link there that'll take you over to my website where I have the full recipe and all the ingredients. Now time to dig in and enjoy, and I love to have extra whipped cream on my pumpkin pie, so I'm gonna add some on the side as well. Oh, this looks so good, guys. All right. Time to enjoy. I love the texture of this pumpkin pie too. It's really smooth and creamy. Now this is what I call the ultimate pumpkin pie. It tastes so incredibly delicious. What I love about this filling is it's not too sweet, so if you do like your pumpkin pie on the sweeter side, make sure to add some extra sugar into the recipe. But the texture of it is so smooth and delicious, has lots and lots of spiciness to it, and I love the addition of the whipped cream and adds a little bit more sweetness, kind of balances everything out. You get that flaky all butter crust. This combination is just so incredible. I love that you have just this light hint of maple syrup, a light hint of that bourbon in there. So incredibly delicious. If you are making this for a family and you have kids, don't worry about the alcohol. It gets baked off during the long baking process, so there's not going to be any actual alcohol in there, just the remaining flavor. For the full recipe, don't forget to head on down in the video description box. This pumpkin pie is going to be so fantastic for Thanksgiving or really any time during the fall season when you're craving a classic and delicious pie. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with a new video.